Jake Gyllenhaal seems much more hated than he is. If you dive into research, you'll find like only 1 or 2 names pop up for people who've spoken out against him. So who are these people? What do they have to say? First one up is David Fincher, the director of the cinematic 2007 film Zodiac, which stars Gyllenhaal as Robert Graysmith, a newspaper cartoonist, a real-life person too, by the way, who becomes obsessed with catching the Zodiac killer. With the help of police investigators and an ace reporter played by Robert Downey Jr., Graysmith slowly starts to piece together the case while the killer stalks the streets of 70 San Francisco, picking off victims one by one. But he does ruin his own life and happiness in the movie in the process. In an interview for the New York Times ahead of the film's release, Gyllenhaal noted how the director, David Fincher, paints with people, confessing that it was tough to be a color. The actor was politely criticizing Fincher's directorial style, which required the actor to perform a huge number of takes, sometimes up to 70, for important scenes. Just doing one scene over and over 70 times. Yeah, I'd be bitching too. It wasn't until Fincher sat down with the New York Times ahead of the release of Mank that he was able to be given the opportunity to plead his side. He stated, "Jake was in an unenviable position of being very young and having a lot of people vie for his attention while working for someone who does not allow for you to take a day off," Fincher began. "I believe you have to have everything out of your peripheral vision. I think Jake's philosophy was informed by, look, he'd made a bunch of movies, even as a child, but I don't think he'd ever been asked to concentrate on a minute. And I think he was very distracted. With the release of Jarhead on the horizon, Gyllenhaal was being told that he was about to become a very big star indeed. Fincher recognized the damaging influence of CEOs and talent agents, so did all he could to hit the scatterbrained actor with, quote, the fastball. This led to frequent confrontations on set. There are definitely times when I can be confrontational if I see someone slacking, admitting people go through rough patches all the time. I do, so I try to be compassionate about it. But it's a $400,000 a day, and we might not get a chance to come back and do that again." Fincher went on to note the tensions had to by the end of the shoot, with Gyllenhaal even offering an apology. The second person is obvious. It's Taylor Swift. She and Jake Gyllenhaal had a PR relationship that started in November of 2010 and ended a month later in December of 2010. Swift first linked to Gyllenhaal, however, in October of 2010 when the pair spent time backstage at Saturday Night Live. In November 2010, they were photographed enjoying maple lattes in Brooklyn, spending Thanksgiving together, only 3 weeks into dating. Their PR contract then expired, and it was all over by December 2010. It seems, though, that while Jake was aware the relationship was all business, young Taylor's feelings still did get involved, leading her to be heartbroken over the publicity stunt relationship. Swifties may have their blood boiling by now, hearing me call it PR, but dude, we all knew it in 2010, so it's actually kind of crazy to watch people switch up 13 years later. We knew then. Don't lie to yourself now just to suit your narrative. This was always PR. In January of 2012, Swift seemingly reflected on the split that bothered her so much in an interview with Vogue while discussing the inspiration behind her album Red, which would be released in October 2012. "There's just been this earth-shattering, not recent, but absolutely crash and burn heartbreak," she told Vogue. "And that will turn out to be what the next album's about. The only way that I can feel better about myself, pull myself out of that awful pain of losing someone, is writing songs about it to get some sort of clarity. It makes sense that that would be the case. If you fall in love with someone you only have a contract to date and they don't fall in love back, it's gonna hurt when it ends." The lyrics featured in Swift's All Too Well hinted at the discord her and that relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal featured, seemingly referencing their tense breakup. Swift sang, "And you call me up again just to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest." But she also sang of her seeming appreciation for him, saying, "Oh, your sweet disposition and my wide-eyed gaze." Jake Gyllenhaal was thrown into the spotlight in a major way in 2021 when Taylor Swift released her album Red, Taylor's version, and chose to include a 10-minute version of her song All Too Well, which famously explores the singer's 1-month relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal. It sparked massive hate and fueled conspiracies that he's like a G-worder and a narcissist and a predator and a gaslighter. Taylor's never said any of that, and none of his confirmed exes have ever said anything bad about Gyllenhaal, whether her fans like it or not. So running a smear campaign and calling someone these harsh as accusatory labels is a very serious act, and it's becoming very normalized online for random people to dub someone someone they do not know, a predator or an offender. These are serious accusations, guys. Humble up, get smart. Their relationship did end years ago. Both of them have grown older. They are both celebrities, but they are humans as well. They need their own privacy. They need intimate space. As fans, you need to know that celebrities' personal matters are not public properties, and you don't get to decide based off of what limited information you know that they are or are not a bad person. That being said, some people want the public involved, like Domenica Feraud. She wrote the article, The Movie Star and Me in 2022. It's a long read. Here are the cliff notes. Doesn't name Jake specifically, but she does put enough clues so that you know it's him. She was a 23-year-old intern for the play that he was starring in at the time. It goes into great detail about how he pursued her, flirting with her, asking her on dates, and how everyone involved in the production encouraged her to be with him, but didn't find him chasing after younger but still legal and adult women to be an issue, which, yeah, prone to doing that. He asks her repeatedly if she finds his intense flirting uncomfortable, and she says no, which admits that it could kind of make her entire essay's point moot. And she talks about how it was her job to stroke his ego. She says his sister Maggie and mother treated her with disdain, and they were going to have intercourse when she changed her mind because she was a virgin and she wasn't ready. He was okay with that, accepted intercourse wouldn't happen. She then volunteered to give him oral stimulation, which he agreed to. He ghosted her afterwards. She finds out he slept with countless of his interns. She feels that he manipulated her, was unprofessional, and played with her feelings. Written in 2022, and of course using images of Taylor Swift and her Red album, none of this was actually ever confirmed to be true. And since it's writing, which is conveniently published at the height of the Jake hate to ensure it would get the maximum clicks, thus maximum money, many have become more skeptical of the article in recent years, highlighting Domenica's status as a very wealthy and privileged Nepo baby, whose father has written several articles about actors and celebrities mistreating her or being mean to her, leading to some to believe that yes, it's not great Jake used her and left her out to dry, but she set up the story to be victimized and take advantage of Jake hate at the time, and at the end of the day, she's an adult who could say no. He never spoke out against Jake, but he spoke out against those who trivialized their performance. Heath Ledger's next. As mentioned, there's not really many people out there who spoke out negatively against Jake, and we covered it already. So we'll talk about some important moments of recollection for him, wherein his co-star actually defended their film with a vigor that he himself regrets not having. Brokeback Mountain was an important film for all involved, but especially for Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal, the main characters. As many know, the film was a romantic drama about two cowboys who fell in love with each other, and it resurfaced an interview with Out. Gyllenhaal explained how the film's most powerful line resonated with everyone involved. To quote, "That line, 'I don't know how to quit you,' has moved. It has been mocked. It has been everything in between. But I remember coming out of that scene, off of the ridge of that hill, and seeing a number of the crew, some of whom didn't even know what the movie was about, crying," Gyllenhaal shared. But at the time, even Gyllenhaal didn't really see the significance of the line. When I first read that line, I was like, what is that? Now I realize that anybody who has loved knows what that feels like, he further elaborated. The interesting part of casting us at such a young age was that we didn't completely understand what we were involved in, and that's the beauty of the movie as well. So, when people turned that line into a joke, Heath Ledger couldn't help but take it personally. To quote Gyllenhaal, he was extraordinarily serious about the political issues surrounding the movie when it came out, he said. A lot of times people would want to have fun and joke about it, and he was vehement about it being serious, to the point where he didn't even really want to hear about anything that was spun of. Heath Ledger's passion for Brokeback Mountain ran so deep he even allowed the Oscars to joke about it, and rightfully so. The Academy came up with an idea for an opening that involved the Ang Lee film, and although Jake Gyllenhaal didn't mind it, Ledger said no, and that he wanted no part. I mean, I remember they wanted to do an opening for the Academy Awards that year that was sort of joking about it, Gyllenhaal told Another Man magazine, and Heath refused. I was sort of at the time like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm always like, it's all in good fun, and Heath said, it's not a joke to me. I don't want to make any jokes about it. Good for you, Heath. A moment many thought was a warning sign was a redo of a famous interview. Our last segment is Jennifer Aniston. Tony Curtis once joked that kissing Marilyn Monroe was like kissing a certain German dictator. Why would he say that about Marilyn Monroe? Curtis later said it was taken out of context, and it was actually just him snapping at a reporter for the ridiculous question. It wasn't said in a like, oh, kissing her was horrible. It's like kissing that dictator. It was more like, are you stupid? Why are you asking me if it was good to kiss Marilyn Monroe? Yeah, okay, it was like kissing a dictator, idiot. On an admittedly lesser scale than dictator comparisons, Gyllenhaal once said filming an intercourse scene with Jennifer Aniston was like torture. The press made big news out of it because, like Curtis, removing inflection or sarcasm from his statement and putting putting it on paper, which is 2D, makes it seem genuine and serious, but it wasn't. And Jake was more sarcastic in his responses to people finally realizing that. As he revealed, Jake actually had a crush on Aniston while she was starring in Friends, which is what made things awkward when they shot the intercourse scenes together for the 2002 romance, The Good Girl. Thus, why he dubbed it torture. I think having fake intercourse with your former crush while 40-some crew and cast people you interact with every day and have to make eye contact with later, watch, is valid to call torture. That doesn't turn me on, he said with a shrug. That's the end of another BTS video. I sure hope you enjoyed. Comment down below what you think of Jake Gyllenhaal hate. Is it deserved? Is it not? Whose opinions do you take? And until next time, be sure to share as well as like and subscribe for more.